There's the John Densmore, who is the drummer for the band The Doors. And then there's the John Densmore, who is running things sports media wise in Los Angeles and beyond. Both of them are a big deal. Both of them have important stories to tell. And we're going to tell the latter story in John Densmore, who's with me currently with NFL Network. Pac-12 Network, works TV shows as well. He does so many different things. And if I were to get into all of his credits, we might be here for a day. But he is a three-time Emmy Award winner, and he's got an inspiring story, and we're going to talk about it on the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, a national anchor at Fox Sports Radio. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. John, we met many years ago. This is so fun. I'm excited to have you in this conversation because of your journey. Seeing that all of you've done now, and you are doing great things, but if we go back in time when things were not as great and you were trying to find your niche and find your way, when you got to Los Angeles and you decided to really take a chance on yourself, what version of John Densmore would I meet back then?
Oh, hungry and eager and, willing to do anything. And that's pretty much how it was. I came out here with no job prospects. Only knew one person living out here. And I ended up finding an internship. I was looking for internships and PA work. So that's the kind of John Densmore you would find. Just big-eyed and saying, like, let's go. What do you got for me? I'll take it. Is it video editing? Is it shooting? Is it going to be just going to get coffee? I'm just here for it all.
As you are building up your reputation in Los Angeles and your name starts to get out more, how do you balance being patient with your rise and realizing it takes time, but also being hungry as well and being constantly on the lookout for how you can grow and how you can get your name out there as well?
Wow. It's also has to do with a lot of support. I moved out here with my now wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time. So she was, obviously pretty much my rock. And she was able to find a full-time job. So that was a support there. So at least some income coming in. So that, and also I came out here with a little bit of money saved up. So I was able to go, months without working or, in that regard. And I think, just having that support system, that's pretty much how I was able to survive, I think, all that time. But there was obviously, I think it's an important topic to talk about. People come out here with a dream and expectation. And ours was like, hey, if we can't make it, we can move back. And we said we give it like 6 months, but, those 6 months fly by. Next thing you know, it's a year and then 2 years. Now I've been out here now, coming up 11 years I've been out here now. So I think just the patience with that and having the support system, and just trusting in yourself and, following your gut instinct,
I feel like failure for you, John, was never an option. You got here, you were going to make it happen, and there was no other option. And to have a wife like that, so supportive, people don't realize, I would think from your perspective, John, how powerful, how incentivizing, empowering it is to have your significant other in your court supporting you through the way. Because oftentimes, if something isn't working out, that other significant other might say, hey, John, maybe we should do this, do that. But just going from her light to see the way in which she empowered you, where do you think you would be in this business without her support, her advocacy of what you are and what you're capable of doing?
Oh boy, did she set this up between you and I? Did she set this interview
Yeah,
up?
the check is coming in the mail right after this interview was sent out.
I know. We love to tell this story because I think this is a good story to tell new people that are just, coming out here. Is that also I did fail and she did have doubts about me because my first job, I found a job on Craigslist to be a PA runner for this independent feature film in Venice Beach, California. And I was living in Santa Monica. So I was like, great, I could ride. We only had one car out here. So I was like, great, I could ride my bike down there, check in. And, the production, of course, looking back on now, it's easier to talk about, but at the time it was devastating. I basically, long story short, was I got fired off it was like my first day on the job. And they fired me because I wasn't doing lockups properly. I was trying to, they wanted the Venice boardwalk locked up, even though they didn't really have any permits. And there was, power hungry production coordinators, power hungry, people, looking back, they were just like that tenacity. And I was just like trying to be like, stop, people, don't walk through. We're trying to shoot something, And I ended up getting let go and fired. So I was looking back, that was like my first job out here. And so my wife was like, ooh, you got fired off your first job. I don't know this is really going to work out for us, or she might stay out here and leave me behind, so that was one of the jobs that very first kicked off our LA adventure here.
Why do you think internally you didn't let that experience, that sour experience, deflate you when it could have? It could have totally turned you off from the business. Why internally would you not let it get in the way of your long-term goals for yourself?
I think just having hope and understanding that, there is that was just one small production kind of thing. And I still have a lot to learn, obviously. And I did learn from it, maybe, I was like, I should have asked more questions from it. I should have been more talked more to the production about it, that sort of thing. So, I looked at the positive side, and I'm an optimistic person in general. And, over the years, it still happens. I have off this entire week of work right now, Monday through Friday. I'm not working at all right now. And so it's still, the ebbs and flows. But then the following week, I'm booked, 7 days straight. So, it's just the emotional roller coaster that we're on. And another tie back to that with the wife being patient is now that I am getting more working and more set in my career, she's now not wanting me to work, the smaller jobs or the jobs on the weekends now. So she's like, you've worked every single Saturday and Sunday for the past, like year and a half. Can you like not work a Saturday or Sunday? I'm just like, this is what you signed up for. You've known me for, we've done this forever now. But, it's like, well, as you get along with your career, it's like, do you really have to work all those jobs still? Do you still have to choose, like, do every single one? So that's also kind of like where I'm at right now, where I'm starting to be a little bit more selective in my career. And now that I've got relationships with some of the broadcast networks and jobs, they understand if I call out or if I book out,
No question about it. John Densmore is with us. I'm Bryan Fenley. This is the On to Something podcast. And we're talking about John's career and his come up in the business. So let's fast forward to 2016, Rio Olympic Games. The Emmy Award, if I'm not mistaken, is coming for you during this event. And John, if I'm not mistaken as well, did you work in golf?
Yes, it was the first time golf was Olympic sport since like 1900 or something. They brought golf back. So that's also kind of how I got selected. I hadn't shot really much golf. I've done some golf before, but I wasn't like a tour guy that's been like every single week on the tour with these guys. So I think that I got in with and also to understand about the Olympics, there's two broadcasts. You have what's called OBS, the Olympic Broadcast Service. They're the ones that really do the event. They have like a full crew. And then NBC will hire just like a handful of people to shoot basically the US side or for our broadcast side. So I was hired for the NBC side so I basically did handheld walking with the top golfers or whatever our announcers wanted to talk about, the producers. I would just follow along with our storylines while OBS would do the general golf coverage.
So you did that, and obviously you've worked in so many different sports. The NFL Network is a place that you take a lot of pride in, and carrying around the Steadicam at games.
Yeah.
What goes into your mindset? You think about an athlete and who you're portraying with those cameras, but if I'm living in your headspace as you're operating one of those Steadicams, and for people that aren't familiar, and you certainly, John, would know better than me, but these are humongous apparatuses that are attached to your body, a huge camera that is basically the size of your body in a sense, if you think about the length of everything. But for you to be able to operate those and to get the best out of you in what you're trying to depict through the lens, what's going through your head when you are bearing one of those pieces of equipment?
Well, I think it also just comes from being a camera operator in general. Is basically, you live through the lens essentially. It's a part of your body, it's a part of your mind. And what I love about Steadicam is it gives you that freedom to move around. and have almost creative direction. Obviously you have a director, you have a producer kind of thing that they have an idea of like what needs to be done, what needs to be shot. But generally speaking, it's up to you to kind of, find the transition or go with the flow, read the body language of the actor or athlete and see, which direction they're going. So it becomes like harmonious and sync. And that's also what you're factoring in when you're doing like film stuff. It's just you're driving the camera around. But in sports and live TV, I'm also doing the zoom control with my thumb. I'm zooming in, I'm zooming out, and then I'm focusing with my finger. So generally speaking, in sports, it's you see it's more of a wider shot, so it's pretty generic, and so the focus you don't really have to mess with the focus too often unless you're pushing into somebody's head.
Yes.
So it's really, to me, it's just almost being like an athlete yourself. I mean, I ran cross country and track in high school, and I always have been a physically fit guy. And that's also what I love. I love almost being sore and tired after the show or after the game, sweating, hips hurting, back hurting. I actually enjoy that. That's why I think also why I love it.
If I were to zoom in on a part of your career that you felt like was one in which you were able to very much grow from, and I know we've talked about some of the earlier times in your career, but as your career moved on and the successes came and the opportunities started to flow in, zooming in on those, what is one accomplishment that you or those around you look as underrated, but for you, you hold it in a high regard because that in part played a big part in launching where you are today?
Ooh, wow. It's like almost like a therapy session in a way too.
Hey, you know what? That might be my next life. I might
love it.
be reincarnated into a therapist.
I would say working in-house video, because they're really, known as like, oh, you're the Jumbotron guy, oh, you shoot video board stuff. But that's how I cut my teeth. I learned what to do, what not to do. But also, all those video board shows are still a part of the biggest games. They cover, I'm about to do one for the Rose Bowl game upcoming here, So I started doing in-house work that was actually my first internship job back in Maryland. I worked for AAA baseball, Ripken baseball at the Aberdeen Ironbirds. And then I transitioned that to the Washington Nationals baseball team. So coming out to LA, I applied for the Dodgers, and I got in with the Dodgers video board because I had that experience. And from the Dodgers, my network grew. But also with the Dodgers and with the Nationals, what that allowed me to do is I learned about graphics. I did graphics, I did replay, I did audio for a little bit, and then really camera. So that really was, I think, most underrated, but yet most important part of my career was working for the in-house crew, in which I still do. I still take pride in it. I'm a union guy. I've worked on some of these big time shows, like you said, and I'm still doing in-house video board work. Number one, because, it helps fill the gaps in the schedule, sure, to work. And number two, it's just, it's good people, it's less stress, and it's fun, it's fun. And for the most part, it doesn't pay like great, but it's about just being there and keeping yourself active, learning new things. That's also a thing. Learn to experiment. I would learning a lot of the tricks that I do with my camera work through in-house work. That's trial and error.
Let's get to go for it.
The in-house work. Yeah.
So let's go to how you've experimented. And obviously with this business, creativity is something that is honored, but also you take chances. Sometimes the producer, the director likes what you do. Sometimes they don't, but you got to try it at some point. What for you is something you've done that has been unique in the way in which you've captured an image that maybe wasn't conventional, but absolutely looked great, or something you take a lot of pride in?
Yeah. All right. Well, two parts that come to mind real quick. One is doing the Dodgers. Dodgers video board is known, Dodgers is all about entertainment, entertainment. So when you look at that video board, you're going to laugh. I've had a couple of funny moments that have gone viral. I had the rally granny, the granny that flashed her bra. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. I found her on the RoboCams. But whenever I would go handheld, I would interact with the fans, and I would say, "Hey, put your glove up to the camera here like this, and then I'm going to zoom out, and and you're going to reveal and give me the LA, do that kind of thing." And so I would interact with the crowd, and it would look great on the video board, and I would do Dutch angles and then come to center, just do that kind of stuff, just to make it instead of just a plain video image. I think of the fan back at home, or in the stands, looking at that, just being entertained and not wanting to keep their eyes off the video board. So that's one. And then doing Steadicam work, again, you have the most creative freedom with that. And because I'm 6'4", I would go from you can boom the Steadicam down low, and then I would be able to go up super high. So I would almost be able to go from like 4 feet down to like 7 feet in the air. So it'd be able to almost be like a jib shot. So I take pride in being able to do that kind of boom range for it doesn't work for everything, obviously, but if for like a concert, music video, that sort of thing, I love doing that sort of thing. And also racking the focus, using a lot of foreground elements to background, just racking the focus. That takes a lot of skill and timing as you're transitioning off a foreground piece to a background piece. So those two things really come to mind.
Playing off how you use different camera angles to cover different things and different moments, if I were to get all the camera angles of you being a dad, what does John Densmore, the dad, look like?
Well,
in
look
his
right
element.
behind me.
Yes. Oh, I thought that was yours.
I know, all my Tonka trucks back there. We scheduled this meeting, by the way, during my son's nap time, so he's napping right now. Since the pandemic, man, he's 3 years old right now. And so the pandemic happened, he was 1.5 years old. And I really just bonded with him. Of course, since I was with him, I was doing daddy daycare every day since I wasn't working. And my wife, was basically working from home in the bedroom. So she had to have it quiet because she was still taking calls. So I just be with him all the time and doing daily activities. So that also gave me a different perspective on life too, and just realize that work is important, obviously, and you can find out your identity with work, but I didn't want work to be all my identity, and I saw a lot of friends, during the pandemic too, go through some hard times and depression because they identified only with work. And, once work stopped, they became depressed and sad and, trying to find themselves. So I'm now able to, I was like that as well, I would say too, but now that I've had my son, it puts, things in perspective a bit.
When your son gets older and he understands the world more, and you sit down with him one day, John, and you tell him how you came to Los Angeles. You came with basically nothing. You said you knew one person. Nothing was lined up, but you believed in yourself. And then you point to all these Emmys behind you, and you point to all these neat shows, these neat sporting events that you've been a part of. What do you want him to know about how you made it right as soon as you got to Los Angeles?
Oh, that I was just trying to, live life and, test myself in a way, see what I was worth, what I can do. And, we still talk about it now in a sense of, is Los Angeles our forever home? Could we move to Michigan? Could we move to Austin, Texas? I don't know, anywhere really. And just, rebrand yourself. And, but your question was about what would I tell my son? And I guess,
I was going to say, yeah. And like, when you tell him, when he says, Daddy, how did you make it? How did you do it? What do you want him to learn about you and your formative years that he can take with him?
Yeah, just again, I think it's really just comes down to just living life and just, seeing what makes you happy, right? That's, what inspires you, as this podcast is all about. Just find out what makes you happy. What, as they always say, you never work a day in your life if you like what you do, right? So something like that. And I just don't want to stress though all the time that work is everything there too. I don't want it to be, like, hey, you have to find a job and work. I mean, obviously you have to pay the bills, you have to have do that sort of thing, but do what makes you happy. That's really what it comes down to. And find, just experiment and find different avenues, meet new people, just be friendly, be kind, and that's also what tumbled me, I think. Like I said, when I first moved out here, being a PA and intern, you're really pushed around a lot, and you're treated, a wide array of a wide array of, what am I trying to say? Just, I would just have him, just be happy with who he is.
Sure.
That's about it.
And going off what you just said there, John, about being happy with who you are, and as you've mentioned, and in this world of being contracted to different events, and it's all event based, there's always that feeling of, hey, what is next? What's the next thing you're going to do? And there's always that constant seeking and struggle to get that next thing and to make sure you're sound financially. And as you said, there were people, and our people, we all in a way have this, where our identity can be almost completely attached to our work, because that's all we know. We want to be sustaining. We love what we do. So how do you deal with that, in knowing that it's such an important part of who you are, but then also having a little bit of peace, and to not be all encompassing with it, where it completely enraptures you and it almost paralyzes you?
Well, we got a dog because of it too. Like I said, a dog helped it, because I was the early days in Santa Monica that first year. I was depressed. I wasn't working, and we found this dog, and this dog, he's still around right now. And, he was a good therapy dog for me, in a way of get it out of the house, walking around. So that was healthy. As you get older, I think one of my first mentors out here always said that, it takes 2 years to get established. 2 years, he said. So I gave myself, kind of that timeline. And he was right. I started getting calls, and I started, booking more shows. I think, what bottom line is, just trust the process, as I try to say. Just trust the process. You've done the work, and you continue to do the work. Like I still have a Steadicam practice rig right now in the garage, that if I haven't done Steadicam in a while, I'll just bust it out and practice walk around the house, keep active that way. And I have a digital camera with a nice lens, and I'll go out and, just take still photos, to fill that creative void in a way. And help others, just what other, if somebody needs help, either, I made friends with the neighbors down the street if they need help, or if a friend has a project they need help on, creatively, I'll help them out that way. That kind of, that's what gets me through.
And then to go to where you are now, and you get to take in the glamour that is these new NFL Network studios, and you walk in there and know what the role that you play is. How does that feel within you to understand where you've been and where you are now, and being in such an iconic place, just majestically from a production standpoint, so beautiful that you're there and you're playing a big role in it?
Well, I'm not really playing a big role, and thank you for saying that, but I know I'm playing a very small role, because I just show up and I just, kind of do what I'm told, but, I'll put my creative taste on things. However, as a freelancer, NFL Network has a full-time staff right now, a director and camera crew. But I think the big question is, what's it feel like to be part of a new facility? And that's pretty rare, to be part of something brand new, because more often than not, something's already been established and you're just walking into it. And so I got recently to be a part of, Tennis Channel. It was brand new. I walked into the new Tennis Channel studios, and I got to walk in the new NFL Network studios. And the energy in both places has just been amazing, especially with NFL Network. You walk in there, it's brand new offices, new cafeteria, they're right next to the stadium. And you walk in there, everybody's happy, there's free coffee, free snacks, the whole 9 yards like that. And you got all these kind of new toys and backgrounds to play with, and nothing against, of course, Culver City, where it used to be, but you know how it is, just people get set in their ways, and, it's a look, it's that, and you go to some place new and shiny, you're like, oh, what could we do here? What could we do over here? This would be nice. And so that energy, everybody just seems to be very happy. And, and starting fresh, and same thing with Tennis Channel over there. And now they have Bally Sports coming in the studio as well. So Bally's is over there. But like, I don't want to get mixed idea either. Like I said, I'm a freelancer. So it's not like I'm there, like 5 days a week. I'm there maybe like once a week, 2 days a week, if that kind of thing. So I'm still, like I said, play a very small role, but I just, try to be social and be happy and meet everybody and, chat it up. That's what it's all about, the relationships,
Those relationships have taken you so far, John, but also your talent as well. And looking at the 10 years you've been in Los Angeles, it's been inspiring, clearly. And I'm excited to see what else you're going to add to your arsenal in this future of yours, because if you've gotten to do what you've done at this point and worked on all these major projects and expanded your creativity and showed off the genius that you are from a production standpoint, my goodness, I can't. Another
I
10
gotta have
years
you
with
as
John.
my hype man. You're my hype man. Dude.
Hey,
I gotta
sign
call
me
you
up. Another 10
hype
years man. With John Densmore, and I'm just going to be blown away. And I feel like I'm probably going to be correct on that. John Densmore, I'm Bryan Fenley. Appreciate you doing this, man. This was a lot of fun looking at your story, seeing how you got through the tough times and you found the way, thanks in large part to your wife's support, which carried you along. And look at where you are now. Appreciate you doing this.
I'm going to say right back to you there, man. Many props to you for starting this podcast or, this video conference call. And, we met, like you said, a couple of years ago, and we hit it off, and you just, you put yourself out there. I put myself out there. I was like, let's meet up, let's chat. And, so you're out there grinding away too, though. So right back at you, man. Just keep it up. You're a good guy. And that opening that you have for me, that's going to be my new voicemail. So when somebody calls, that's going to be my new voicemail. That's what I want. That'd be great. But I love what you're doing. Keep it up. And I got some referrals for you too, just more people to talk to.